Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Halloween episode. Nosferatu! Just put the light down. It's bad for the video. I'm trying to make an effect here. Just no. Put it down. Thank you. The work I have to deal with here. Yes, welcome to the Halloween episode, where today we're looking at Luigi's Mansion for the Nintendo Gamecube. Now, I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with this game, but if you're not, let's do a little history lesson, shall we? So until the Gamecube, every single Nintendo system had some kind of Mario title to go with it as a launch title. They always showed the power of the system at launch, and games like Mario World and Mario 64 are still regarded as some of the best games of all time. So everybody was expecting the Dolphin, or later on the Gamecube, to have a Mario launch title as well. But Mario's main Gamecube adventure wouldn't happen until a year later after the system came out. Meanwhile, at Space World 2000, the game was shown as a tech demo for what the system's graphics would look like, mainly showing full motion video sequences that were not possible on the N64. Nintendo ended up liking the idea of this tech demo and made a full game about it, and the game resurfaced at E3 and Space World 2001, and the game ended up becoming a launch title with the Gamecube, which confused many, as it seemed like it was supposed to be the main Mario title, but it had a dramatic change in the gameplay from the mainstay Mario series. So opinions of the game were originally very mixed when it came out, but over time it started to gain a big fan following behind it, and it ended up becoming the 5th best-selling title for the system, and in 2012 it gained a sequel for the Nintendo 3DS. Man, me and this game have had a very interesting history. I guess you could say that. When I initially played the game as a kid, I hated it. Not only was it very different from other games I was used to at the time, but the game absolutely terrified me. I mean, to be fair, when you see this as a kid, you're pretty scarred for life. But years later, I did purchase it again and started to love it. Though my taste in games had changed over the years, so does Luigi's Mansion hold up nearly a decade later? Let's find out. I saw that! So the story of Luigi's Mansion revolves around Luigi. Big surprise. Anyway, he's informed that he won a mansion in a contest he didn't even enter. Sounds kinda sketchy, I know. But instead of giving him his social security number like they asked him to do on the phone, he sends Mario to investigate. It's been a while and he's heard no word back from him, so Luigi goes to the mansion himself to find out what's going on. But the mansion doesn't look exactly like he thought it would. After going in, Luigi finds out that the mansion is run by ghosts, and right before they attack him, Luigi is saved by Professor E. Gadd, a scientist who interacts with the paranormal. He gives Luigi the Poltergust 2000, which can vacuum up ghosts, and the Game Boy Horror, a communication device that also keeps track of Luigi's progress. Luigi is tasked with finding the portrait ghosts in the mansion while looking for Mario, which are ghosts that E. Gadd captured but escaped recently. While exploring the mansion, Luigi accidentally released Boo's hiding in the mansion along with King Boo, who has captured Mario himself in the mansion. So Luigi must now reclaim all the portrait ghosts, Boo's, and his brother. Overall, the plot, look, it's a Mario game. Of course it's gonna be simple and nothing too grand. Though I will admit this whole flip on the situation where we have to save Mario is a nice touch, and it does lead to that little bit of an interesting element, so I'll give them credit for that. Now, being a launch title, Luigi's Mansion was one of the first looks at what the Gamecube was capable of. And does it still look good 14 years later? I think so. Even though the game is very dark in terms of the look, it still remains colorful and full of charm. All the ghosts have clear personalities and they have very expressive emotions when attacking you or being sucked up. The portrait ghosts are even better, as each of them is unique in their both personalities and designs. Environments also give off a very supernatural, gothic, and cartoon look all at the same time, and it looks great. Luigi also has a ton of personality himself, from being scared all the time to him yelling for Mario every time you press the A button. Which, by the way, the less health you have, the more desperate his cry gets. Mario! I loved that as a kid and it still is amazing to this day. I think graphically there's nothing really pushing the system to its limits, but I think it's pleasing to the eye. Though there is one hiccup I noticed. There were these black lines that would keep showing up on Luigi's character model when I played through the game. I don't remember seeing these as a kid, and I'm not sure if it's to do with my TV or that my disc is getting old. I'm not too sure. Now in terms of the music, there's not that much in the game honestly. It's mostly variations of the main theme. Two themes in particular. One that's whistling while you're traveling through lit up areas, and one with heavy instrumentation with Luigi nervously humming as he goes along, which adds even more character to the game. There are other songs, but the theme is what you're going to be hearing most often. And honestly, it never got tiring for me. I do wish there was some more variety in the tracks, but I can deal with it. So overall, Luigi's Mansion presentation does start to show its age, but it is good for the eyes and ears. But how does that gameplay hold up? So Luigi's Mansion is an action exploration game. You have to go around the mansion going into the rooms that you've opened up, evacuate the ghosts in the area, get the key to the room, and move on. The game is split up into 4 areas of the mansion, and each of them ends with a boss fight. Very simple and easy to grasp. When you enter a room, you either need to perform some kind of puzzle or simply fight the ghosts in the room. When fighting the ghosts, simply flash your light towards them, and then proceed to suck them up with the poltergust. To get more damage on the ghosts, you have to hold the control stick in the opposite direction, and when their health reaches 0, they're yours for the taking. Once all the ghosts are clear in the room, it will light up and you'll score a key for the next room. Sometimes a room might have a puzzle that needs to be performed in order for the ghost to appear or move on. Most of the time it's just by sucking up something or using your element attacks. There's fire, water, and ice. Now grass isn't one, but they're saving that for the 3rd game with a lawnmower. Maybe. You use these powers for environment puzzles and for attacking element ghosts. The one that you should keep on you most of the time is water, mainly because you can water plants to get more treasure. Treasure is a huge part in the game, and it's scattered everywhere, from randomly on the floor, in the furniture, or when beating a room. Money is all around you, and while you don't actually use any of the money for buying stuff, it does end up going to the best ending in the game, so collect them whenever you can. There are 2 special ghosts that you can find to help with this. First are the golden mice that appear in rooms or randomly throughout dark hallways. Collect these and get a huge burst of money or even a gem or 2. The next one and most important of the 2 is the Speedy Spirit. Yes, he's a blue ghost and he's really fast. He's the ghost of Sonic's career. Okay, moving on. These ghosts fly all around the room only when it's dark and you have to catch them and you'll get a ton of cash. But be warned, you only get 1 shot per playthrough at them. So if you screw up, you're not getting that dough. The 3 story important ghosts that you'll need to find are Portrait Ghosts, Boss Ghosts, and Boos. Portrait Ghosts were once all residents of the mansion and Luigi needs to get them back for EGAD. What makes them harder is that their heart is not immediately available. Most of the other ghosts you merely have to flash the light on them and bam, you can suck them up. Not with these guys. Instead, you're gonna have to do some kind of task to catch them off guard and then you can vacuum them. Now with the Portrait Ghosts, they do drop these pearls that do count towards cash at the end of the game, but here's the thing. In order to get the most money possible, you need to vacuum them up in 1 run without screwing up. The boss ghosts act very similar to Portrait Ghosts and there's only 4 and they take longer. However, to get the best rank on them, you're gonna have to make sure to not take much damage on the boss. Because let's be fair, you're not gonna be able to suck them up in 1 go. Now there's a reason you want to perform really well on these 2 types of ghosts. It's because of the frames you get on them. You can either get a bronze, silver, or gold, and they carry from multiple playthroughs. I've gotten all of them gold, but 1. Soupy. Those stupid dolls mess me up every time. I know, I'm a bad little completionist, alright? Shut up. Anyway, the final ghosts to collect are Boos. There are 50 hidden throughout the mansion, and they will only appear when the room is fully lit up. The Game Boy Horror will have a radar that also works as some kind of hot-cold system. Once you find them, you need to suck them up. But you don't really fight them, you more just point the poltergust in their direction. Going back to the Game Boy Horror, it also keeps track of your money, ghosts, and it can also work as a map. If you aim it towards a ghost's heart, you can get a little clue on how to fight them. If you point it towards a mirror, you can warp back to the main room. And that's pretty much the basic gameplay of Luigi's Mansion. So let's see what fun lies in this little ghost house. So the main appeal of the game is the openness of the mansion. You really feel like you're exploring this place every time you open up a new room, and while it's big, you're always doing something which keeps your attention. Getting money is incredibly addicting, especially with the jewels that you can find, and it always lit up my face when I found a huge stash of money. There's also a lot of charm in this game, from Luigi himself and all his animations, to all the portrait ghosts and how they interact with Luigi. Some of my favorites are Chauncey, Melody, Miss Petuna, Henry and Orrible, Madame Clairvoya, Vincent Van Gogh, and of course King Boo. I love all the little details too, such as Luigi's breath and all the dust everywhere that goes to making a greater atmosphere. And easily the most addicting part of the game is busting ghosts. See, when you're wrangling them in, you actually do have to fight on the control stick, which makes it feel very interactive and makes it even more satisfying to get them in one run. The game is also very replayable, especially with the Secret Mansion, a mode you can get after beating the game, where you take more damage from the ghosts, but you can also tear apart their life bar. It's kind of ridiculous, and you can speed through the game really fast with this. But not everything in this house is all fun and games. The thing that most reviewers talk about when coming to this game in terms of negatives was the length, and I kind of agree it is a little shorter than I would like for a launch title. While it does keep the game very replayable, it makes a playthrough last a day at most. You don't get to stay as much as you would like. And while you're always doing something in a room, most of the time you're doing pretty much the same tasks over and over, and not much of it changes. I also had a big problem trying to aim objects with the vacuum. It was really hard to judge distances, and it was pretty frustrating for me. This is probably why Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon was developed for the 3DS. Now, something I noticed in this run of the game, there's a lot of backtracking here. Now granted, they do have the Game Boy Horror, but this only gets you to the first floor. Sometimes, such as in Area 4, you'll be forced to go from the top of the mansion to the bottom of the mansion and back up. Honestly, half of this area is just traveling between the two. In fact, Area 4 really shows the game at its worst. Not only for this, but there's also a part of the game where all the lights in the mansion go out and ghosts appear non-stop. Now this would be fine if Luigi didn't stop in his tracks so much. Every time a ghost shows up, Luigi gets scared and stops moving. When the ghosts appear this much, Luigi's almost immovable and you're gonna take a lot of unfair damage from this. Luigi also has a bad habit of tripping over simple stuff, such as these balls of yarn. It's not a game breaker, but it's annoying when you have to deal with this. And my biggest complaint are the boos. See, it's fine in the beginning, but later in the game, once again in Area 4, you're really gonna hate them. They start to get 300 HP, which by the way, that's more than the majority of the boss ghosts. So you'll be fighting them in the room, they'll go into the hallway, and then you have to chase them into the hallway to get them back into the room. Hopefully. And if it's in Area 4 in the basement, you're gonna have to go to the rooftop to get a key there and then come back down again. Look, I think you get the point. So Luigi's Mansion is now considered a retro game, which yes, that pains me to say. And it does tend to have a lot of flaws, especially by now. But does that make it a bad game? No, not at all. In fact, it's still really solid all around. Luigi's Mansion is still a ton of fun to play a decade after its release. The game is very easy to pick up, addicting, and just a blast. Though I will say it's definitely starting to show its age. While adventuring through the mansion is still fun and getting money is always satisfying, it's bogged down by some design flaws, mainly the backtracking and the boos near the end of the game. And Area 4 is just a bad note for the game to go out on. But I do find myself heading back to this game time and time again. But nowadays, I'd say get the game only if you can get it under 30 bucks. If you can, give it a shot. Not bad, Mr. Green Man. Not bad at all. So yeah, that's it for Luigi's Mansion. It's still a really fun game, and I really suggest you guys pick it up. Though, you're gonna have to find a physical copy, and Gamecube games aren't easy to find nowadays. Especially since there's no kind of digital distribution service. Yet. Get on it, Nintendo! Now there is a sequel to the game Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon for the 3DS, and you guys can pick that up if you want. Though do note, that game is very different from this one. And I would take a look at it, but I don't have a 3DS capture card yet. But you could help me get one through my Patreon. Oh yes, I'm gonna plug that thing. I feel no shame whatsoever. Anyway, it is Halloween, so be safe and have fun tonight. And I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, check out my reviews of the Sly Cooper games on the left. Or you can check out my LP channel, The Lower Room, and our Adventure Through Mario Party's Pirate Dream on the right. Don't worry, I have the links here so you don't lose your way. If you want to get updates on my videos, make sure to check out my Facebook and Twitter. Or as stated in the video, you can go to my Patreon where you can support me directly. And all the money from my Patreon goes right back into the show. And if I do get a 3DS capture card, I will do a marathon of sorts for 3DS games, and Luigi's Mansion 2 will be one of them. So if you want to help out, go for it. Which, by the way, thank you so Ninja Star for being my top patron. Thank you, man. And just a friendly reminder, Halloween isn't the most friendly of holidays, so just make sure you're safe tonight, okay? Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.